Good morning, children. So, in the last class, you have seen how the weavers, how the smelters had been taken off their work from the British. They all became jobless during the British era because the British started putting more import duties on the cotton textiles which were exported from India to the Britain in order to encourage their textile industry. So what they did, they started giving them more encouragement. In order to encourage their local industries, they started putting more taxes on the Indian textiles. By that, what happened, our weavers lost their jobs, the spinners lost the jobs, especially the rural women. They started having the financial problems. So next what happens, they started the iron and steel industries in Britain. By that, what happened, the smelters of the Indians who had made the what you can say, the swords of Tipu Sultan, still it is preserved in the museum in England. So such a fine work, we were using the ooze steel, right, which was used to make the swords, which was made used to make lot of iron and steel utensils, that were all what we can say, they were all became jobless because of the introduction of the iron and steel. They started, British government started importing the iron and steel from the Britain. So our smelters were forced to close their industries. So now let us see abandoned surface furnaces in villages. So in villages, especially the smelters, you can see what happened to their life. Production of ooze steel required a highly specialized technique of refining iron. So it had required highly specialized technique of refining the iron. But iron smelting in India was extremely common till the end of the 19th century. So till the end of the 19th century, this technique was very common. It was very commonly used. In Bihar and central India in particular, every district had the smelter. So in Bihar and central India, what was the every district had what? Smelters were available that used the local deposits of ore to produce the iron, which was widely used for the manufacture of implements and tools of daily use. So here the people, iron smelters, they were making the tools for whom? For the agricultural farmers, agricultural laborers, especially in Bihar and central India, where we find the iron deposits. From there the ore was extracted by these local smelters, and they used to do the equipments which were used for the agriculture. They used to make the small tools, kurpi, kodli, salki, gudli, ಇವನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರಿ. The furnaces were most often built of clay and sun dried bricks. ಫರ್ನೆಸಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಭಾಂಡೆಗಳು. ಅವಾಗ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಬೀಕರ್ಸ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಫರ್ನೆಸಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬೀಕರ್ಸ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಇರ್ತಾವ. ದೇ ವೇರ್ ಮೇಡ್ ಅಪ್ ಆಫ್ ದ sun dried bricks. The bricks, for making the bricks, what they were using the clay. ಮಣ್ಣಿಂದ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು, ಬ್ರಿಕ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು. The most often built of clay and sun dried bricks. The smelting was done by men while women worked the bellows, pumping air that kept the charcoal burning. So women were working in the bellows. She was pumping the air that kept the charcoal burning. Here you can see how they are doing the work. Iron smelters of Palamau. Here you are seeing here, it is the picture of the iron smelters of the Palamau. Right, how these poor people, here you can see they have not owned the clothes also. So much poor people were living in those days, and these were the smelters of the iron. These people used to make the ಐರನ್ ಟೂಲ್ಸ್ ಹಿಂದಿನ ಪಿಕ್ಚರ್ಗಳು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ರಾಜ್ಕುಮಾರ್ ಪಿಕ್ಚರ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಭಾಳ ಚಂದ ಭಾರತಿ ಜೋಡಿ ಇದನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ಯಾರ್ರಿ. ಅದು ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಡೂ ದ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಸಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆಲ್. ಇದು ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನ ರೆಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು. ಅವಾಗ ಕೈಯಿಂದ ಒಬ್ರು ಹಿಂಗೆ ಜಗತ್ತಿದ್ರು, ಒಬ್ಬ ಮನುಷ್ಯ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು, ದೊಡ್ಡ ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲೇ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು, ಸುತ್ತಿಗೆಲೆ ಬಡಿತಿದ್ರು, ಅವನ್ನ ಚೂಪು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು, ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು. ಇಫ್ ಯು ಸಿ ಓಲ್ಡ್ ರಾಜ್ಕುಮಾರ್ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಮೂವೀಸ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದೇರ್, ನೋಡ್ರಿ ಅದ್ರೊಳಗೆ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಅದು ಸ್ಮೆಲ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ಲಿ ಶೋನ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಮೂವೀಸ್. Right, here you can see some communities like the Agarias specialized in the craft of iron smelting. In the late 19th century, a series of famines devastated the dry tracts of India. In central India, many of the Agaria iron smelters stopped work, deserted their villages and migrated. So here, because of the famine in central India, ಬರಗಾಲ ಬಿದ್ದಿದ್ರಿಂದ ಏನಾದ್ರಿ, they deserted the village, they stopped their work and they deserted the village. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಪೀಪಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ನೌ ನಾಟ್ ಕಮ್ ಟು ಯೂಸ್ ದ ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಟೂಲ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬೇಕಾಗಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ. ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ದಿಲ್ಲ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದ ಟೂಲ್ಸ್ ವರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಅವೈಲೇಬಲ್ ಟು ದೆಮ್. ಇಫ್ ದ ಟೂಲ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಅವೈಲೇಬಲ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ, ವಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪಂಡ್, ದೇರ್ ವಾಸ್ ಅ ಫೆಮೈನ್ ಇನ್ ಬೆಂಗಾಲ್. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ದ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ದಟ್ ಟೈಮ್ ವಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ಸ್, ದ ಫಾರ್ಮರ್ಸ್ ಕೆನಾಟ್ ಡೂ ದೇರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮಿಂಗ್. ಸೊ ವಾಟ್ ದೇ ಡಿಡ್, ದೇ ಮೈಗ್ರೇಟೆಡ್ ಟು ದ ಅದರ್ ವಿಲೇಜಸ್ ಆರ್ ಟು ದ ಅದರ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸಸ್ ವೇರ್ ದೇ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ where they can work in order to survive in themselves in the hard times. A large number of them never worked their furnaces again. So large number of them, they never worked again, they never became the smelters again. They stopped their traditional working, they stopped their traditional occupations only because of this British what we can say British era. We saw that lot of people whose from generation to generation they were doing that work, they were doing that occupation, they were specialized in occupation. But because of the British era, what we saw that the people, those who were following, those who were doing their occupation from generation to generation, stopped their work. You can see the potter stopped making the pots, the craftsmen stopped doing their craft work, the specialized printers, right, who were known for their specializations in the cotton sarees printing work, they were specialized in that work. But what happened, many craft persons left their jobs, left their occupations which they were doing from generation to generation. Handloom printing was very much famous in India, but what happened during the British era, they stopped that work because they didn't get the work to do, because British forced the Indians to purchase what, their goods and services. So our handloom industry was completely destroyed by whom, by the British people. Same thing with the smelters also. You can see in the olden days they have done lot of iron and steel work. Best example is the sword of Tipu Sultan. There you can see on the golden painting work is done on his sword, and the sword has very sharp edges. It can cut the armors of the arms of the soldiers. It can cut the chest of the enemy. That much sharp it was. Yadina ಶೀಳು ಅಂತ ತಾಕತ್ ಅದಕ್ಕಿತ್ರಿ sword of Tipu ಇತ್ತು. Not only with the Tipu, with the lot of people it was. The sword was so sharp. Indian swords are till today famous everywhere. ಅಷ್ಟು ಶಾರ್ಪ್ ಎಡ್ಜಸ್ ಇರುವಂಥ ಸಾರ್ಡ್ಸನ್ನು ಅವಾಗ ಕತ್ತಿಗಳನ್ನು ಅವಾಗ ರೆಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಬಟ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿಸ್ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್ ಎರಾ, ವಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪಂಡ್, ಆಲ್ ದಿಸ್ ವರ್ಕ್ occupations were taken over, were made to give put an end by whom, by the British people. Craftsmen ಅದನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕತ್ರಿ, ವ್ಯವಸಾಯ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರು. They became the agricultural laborers. So many craft persons, they have left their occupations which they were doing from forefathers. From generation to generation the occupation was transformed. So only now Modi is stressing now Atmanirbhar project. You all start those occupations which you have left over far behind. You all start doing those occupations, right? In this agriculture policy, he is telling the same thing, right? By removing the APMC Act, he is telling the same thing to the people. Now farmers, you become the brokers, you become the local brokers, you start acting like the businessman. You decide the rate for the goods and services you have grown. Don't depend on the middlemen, don't depend on the agents to decide the price of the crops. You become the businessman, you become the owners of your goods and services, right? So for that sake, the Modi has implemented now, he has implemented that APMC Act, right? A widespread industry. According to a report of the Geological Survey of India, iron smelting was at one time a widespread industry in India, and there is hardly a district away from the great alluvial tracts of the Indus, Ganges and Brahmaputra in which slag heaps are not found. For the primitive iron smelter finds no difficulty in obtaining sufficient supply of ore from the deposits that no European iron master would regard as worth his serious consideration. So a widespread industry was there. According to the Geological Survey of India, it is said that then the tracts of Indus, Ganges and Brahmaputra, there what was there? There was the slag heaps of iron ore was found, but now it is not found because of for the primitive iron smelter finds no difficulty in obtaining sufficient supplies of ore from deposits that no European iron master would regard as worth his serious consideration. But they were Europeans were not regarding so. They were only importing the British iron and steel to the India. By the late 19th century, however, the craft of iron smelting was in decline. In most villages, furnace fell into disuse and the amount of iron produced came down. Why was this so? So what happened? The villagers who were producing the iron, the production of iron came down in the villages. The amount of iron they were producing had lost its value. There were no furnaces. They stopped the use of the furnaces. They stopped the production of the iron in the villages. One reason was the new forest laws that you have read about chapter 4. When the colonial government prevented people from entering the reserved forest, how could the iron smelters find wood for charcoal? So what happened? The first reason was when this British people told that there are reserved forest. In that reserved forest, what they were growing? They were growing the timbers. They were growing the sandalwood. They were growing the rosewood. All good quality of the woods they were growing, and that they were exporting to the Britain. Now what our farmers should do? They were not getting the wood for the charcoal. How could the iron smelters find the wood for charcoal where they could get the iron ore? So how they can get the iron ore if they are not burning their furnaces? Defying forest laws, what happened? They often entered the forest secretly and collected wood, but they could not sustain their occupation on this basis for long. Many gave up their craft and looked for other means of livelihood. Here, defying the forest laws means violating the forest laws. They were going into the forest secretly and they were collecting some woods and they were using it as a charcoal. But how many days can they do it? It is not possible. You know how the British people are, cunning fox people. For everything they were putting the tax. They had looted the wealth of India like their home. They were thinking that it is our home country and here we are ruling this territory. We have to make profits. We have to make money. That was their main motto. Their motto was to earn profit from each and every resource which was available in India. From land they were making profits, from water they were making profits, from the forest they were making the profits, from whatever the agricultural produce the farmers were growing, from that also they were making the profits. ಜನರನ್ನ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಂದ್ರಿ, ನಾಯಿ ಥರ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು. ಎಲ್ಲದರಲ್ಲೂ ಅವ್ರೇನು ನೋಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು, ತಮ್ಮ ಲಾಭವನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಯಾರು ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್ ಮಂದಿ. ಆಗಿನ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಜನರ ಜೀವನ ಹೆಂಗಾಗಿತ್ತಂದ್ರೆ ನಾಯಿಗಿಂತ ಕೆಟ್ಟ ಜೀವನ ಆಗಿತ್ತು. ಜನರು ತತ್ತರಿಸಿ ಹೋದರು. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ತಮ್ಮ ಮೇನ್ ಆಕ್ಯುಪೇಷನ್ ಏನು ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ರು ಅದನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಟರು. ಫ್ರಮ್ ಜನ್ರೇಷನ್ ಟು ಜನ್ರೇಷನ್ ಅವ್ರ ಅಜ್ಜನ ಕಾಲದಿಂದ ಮುತ್ತಜ್ಜ ಕಾಲದಿಂದಂತ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಕೆಲಸಗಳನ್ನು ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಏನಾದ್ರಿ ಲೇಬರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ದುಡಿಲಿಕ್ಕತ್ರು. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಲಿ ಆಳಗಳಾಗಿ ಬಿಟ್ಟರು. ಎವ್ರಿ ಒನ್ ಫಾರ್ಗಾಟ್ ದೇರ್ ವರ್ಕ್, ದೇರ್ ಟ್ಯಾಲೆಂಟ್, their best talent which that had come in them through their hereditary. ಅವ್ರ ತಂದೆ ತಾಯಿಯಿಂದಂತ ಬಂದಿದಂಥ ಟ್ಯಾಲೆಂಟ್ ಏನಾಯ್ತು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸತ್ತು ಹೋಯಿತು. ಹೆರಿಡಿಟ್ರಿಯಿಂದ ಬಂದಂಥ ಟ್ಯಾಲೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅದೇನಾಯ್ತು ಸತ್ತು ಹೋಯಿತು. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರ ಮುಂದೆ ಕಲೀಲೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಏನಾಗಿ ಪರಿವರ್ತನೆ ಆದರೆ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಎವ್ರಿ ಒನ್ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಬಿಕಮ್ ದ ಲೇಬರ್ಸ್ ಟು ದ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್ ಪೀಪಲ್. In order to have their means of livelihood, in order to get the 2 square meals a day, 2 ಹೊತ್ತು ಊಟದ ಸಲುವಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ತಮ್ಮನ್ನ ಕ್ರಾಫ್ಟನ್ನ ತಮ್ಮ ವಿದ್ಯೆನ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ರಿ. they all became the laborers. They forget what they had doing, what their forefathers were doing. Their talent came to an end. In some areas, the government didn't grant access to the forest, but the iron smelter had to pay very high tax to the forest department for every furnace they used. This reduced their income. So, in order to enter the forest, they have to pay high tax. And if they are working as iron smelters, again they have to pay tax to whom? To the British government. The forest department was putting more and more tax. If they are having the furnace, then they have to pay tax to whom? To the government. What happened? This reduced their income. 100 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಬರ್ತೈತಂದ್ರೆ 80 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಅವ್ರು ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕ್ರಿ, ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ತುಂಬಬೇಕು. ಈ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಇಂಡಿಯಾನ ಸಣ್ಣ ಆಗಿ ಲೂಟಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಬಂದ್ರಿ. ಮೊದಲು ರೈತರ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಭೂಮಿ ಕಸ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು, ಜಮೀನ್ದಾರ ಕಡೆಗಳಿಂದ ಭೂಮಿ ಕಸ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು. ಎಲ್ಲಾರನ್ನೂ ಭೂಮಿನ ಅವ್ರು ಆಳತಿದ್ರು, ಬಿತ್ತುತ್ತಿದ್ರು. ಅವರು ಭೂಮಿಯಲ್ಲೇ ಅವ್ರು ಆಳಾಗಿ ದುಡಿಯೋ ಲೆಕ್ಕಕ್ಕೆ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ರು. Everywhere people lost their property, lost their identity, lost their dignity in their own places, in their own villages, in their own cities. ಗೌಡ್ರಾಗಿದ್ದವರು, ಜಮೀನ್ದಾರಾಗಿದ್ದವರು ಕೂಡ ಏನಾಗ್ಬಿಟ್ರು, ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್ ಆಡಳಿತದಾಗ they also became the laborers. Moreover, by the late 19th century, iron and steel was being imported from Britain. Iron smiths in India began using the imported iron to manufacture utensils and implements. This inevitably lowered the demand for iron produced by local smelters. Now what happened? People were forced to what? To import the iron from the Britain. So the iron smiths in India who were there, carpenters and all, they started using imported iron. They started using it to manufacture the utensils and the implements, agricultural tools. What happened? This lowered the demand for what? For the iron produced in the India by the local smelters. Local smelters ಏನೇನು ಐರನ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರಿ, ಐರನ್ನಿಗೆ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ ಬರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ವೈ? ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದ ಬ್ರಿಟನ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ದ ಐರನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸ್ಟೀಲ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಟು ಸೆಲ್ ಟು ಹೂಮ್? ಟು ದ ಐರನ್ ಸ್ಮಿತ್ಸ್. ಐರನ್ ಸ್ಮಿತ್ಸಿಗೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡಾಕತ್ರು, ಬಂದಂಥ ತರಿಸಿದಂಥ ಕೆಬ್ಬಣ ಬ್ರಿಟನ್ನಿಂದ ಏನು ತರಿಸಿದ್ರು ಅದನ್ನು ಮಾರಾಟ ಮಾಡಾಕತ್ರು. ಅವ್ರು ಅದನ್ನು ತೊಗೊಂಡು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕತ್ರಿ, ದೇ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್ ದ ಯುಟೆನ್ಸಿಲ್ಸ್, ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ದ ಯುಟೆನ್ಸಿಲ್ಸ್. ಭಾಂಡೆಗಳನ್ನ ರೆಡಿ ಮಾಡಿದರು, ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರಿಗೆ ಬೇಕಾಗುವಂಥ ಇಂಪ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನ ರೆಡಿ ಮಾಡಿದರು. ಬೈ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಅವರ್ ಲೋಕಲ್ ಸ್ಮೆಲ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಡಿಮಾಂಡ್ ಗಾಟ್ ರೆಡ್ಯೂಸ್ಡ್. By the early 20th century, the artisans producing iron and steel faced a new competition. Yes, The local producers who were producing the iron and steel, now they had to face a new competition. In the year 1904, in the hot month of April, Charles Weld, American geologist, and Dorabji Tata, the eldest son of Jamshedji Tata, were traveling in Chhattisgarh in search of iron ore deposits. So in 1904, what happened? The Tata and as well as the Charles Weld, an American geologist, both were traveling the India, right, in the search in the Chhattisgarh in the search of the iron ore deposits. They had spent many months on a costly venture looking for the sources of good iron ore to set up a modern iron and steel plant in India. So what happened? They had spent many months together because iron ore ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಗ್ತೈತಿ ಅದನ್ನು ಹುಡುಕಾಡಬೇಕಲ್ಲ. It is not an easy job. So they took a venture and they started searching the good iron ore in and to set up an steel plant in India. Jamshedji Tata had decided to spend a large part of his fortune to build a big iron and steel industry in India. So Jamshedji Tata, what he decided? He decided that whether it may be in the British rule only, what we will do, we'll set up a big iron and steel industry in the India. But this could not be done without identifying the source of the fine quality iron ore. So Jamshedji Tata was knowing it that first what they have to do, they have to search the fine quality iron ore in order to set up the iron and steel industry in India. This is not going to become an easy task for them, easy work for them. Good quality iron ore, ಬರೀ ಅಂತ ಇಂಥ ಐರನ್ ಓರ್ ಅಲ್ರಿ, ಗುಡ್ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಐರನ್ ಓರ್. ನೀವೊಂದು ಏನೋ ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ನೀವು ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವೇನು ನೋಡ್ತೀರಿ? ಪೈಲ ರಾ ಮಟೀರಿಯಲ್ ಏನ್ರಿ? ಕಾಟನ್. ಕಾಟನ್ ಇಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಬಟ್ಟೆಗಳನ್ನ ತಯಾರು ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ. ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಹಾಕಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಯು ಸಿ ವೇರ್ ಯು ಗೆಟ್ ದ ಗುಡ್ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಕಾಟನ್. ಗುಡ್ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಕಾಟನ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನೀವು ಬಟ್ಟೆಗಳನ್ನ ತಯಾರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ದ ಕ್ಲಾತ್ ವಿಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಲಾಂಗರ್ ಡ್ಯೂರಬಿಲಿಟಿ. ಲಾಂಗರ್ ಡ್ಯೂರಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಭಾಳ ವರ್ಷ ಬರ್ತೈತಿ. 3 ವರ್ಷ 2 ವರ್ಷ ಬರ್ತೈತಿ. ಲೋ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಕಾಟನ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ 3 ತಿಂಗಳಿಗೆ 6 ತಿಂಗಳಿಗೆ ಬಟ್ಟೆ ಹರಿದು ಹೋಗ್ತೈತಿ. ಜನ ನಿಮ್ದು ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸಸ್ನ ಪರ್ಚೇಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ನ ಪರ್ಚೇಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ದ ಜಮ್ಶೆಡ್ಜಿ ಟಾಟಾ ವಾಸ್ ಅವೇರ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಟ್. ಗುಡ್ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಸ್ಟೀಲ್ ಇಂದ್ರ ನಾವೇನಾದರೂ ಯುಟೆನ್ಸಿಲ್ಸ್ ತಯಾರು ಮಾಡಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಬೇರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕಾದರೂ ನಾವು ಅದು ಐರನ್ ಓರ್ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ದೆನ್ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ರಿಮೇನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅ ಲಾಂಗ್ ರನ್, ರೈಟ್. ಭಾಳ ವರ್ಷ ಬರಬೇಕು. ಸ್ಟೀಲಿಂದ ಏನಾರ ಸಾಮಾನು ತೊಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ 10 ವರ್ಷ 15 ವರ್ಷ ಗಟ್ಮುಟ್ಟಾಗಿ ಬರಬೇಕು, ರೈಟ್. ಸೊ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ಇನ್ ಸರ್ಚ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಫೈನ್ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಐರನ್ ಓರ್. ಒನ್ ಡೇ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಟ್ರಾವೆಲಿಂಗ್ ಮೆನಿ ಅವರ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್, ವೆಲ್ಡ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡೋರ್ಬ್ಜಿ came upon a small village and found a group of men and women carrying basket loads of iron ore. So Weld and Dorbaji, they were moving in one village. There they saw that men and women in their basket loads, what they were carrying the iron ore. ಹಣ್ಣು ಹಂಪಲು ಹೆಂಗೆ ತೊಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಲ್ರಿ ಹಂಗೆ ಇವ್ರು ಏನು ಕ್ಯಾರಿ ಮಾಡಾಕತ್ತಿದ್ರು ವಿಲೇಜರ್ಸ್, ಐರನ್ ಓರ ಬುಟ್ಟಿಗಟ್ಟಲೆ ತುಂಬಿಕೊಂಡು ತಲೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೊತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೊಂಟಿದ್ರು. So these people were the Agarias. So this group of people is known as the Agarias. When asked where they had found the iron ore, the Agarias pointed to a hill in the distance. So when the Dorabji Tata and the Weld asked them where you have got these iron ores, from where you are bringing, they showed the hill in the distance. Weld and Dorabji reached the hill after an exhausting trek through dense forest. So how was the forest? It was a dense forest. Dense forest ಒಳಗೆ ನಡ್ಕೋತ ಹೋಗಿ they have reached that hill. On exploring the hill, the geologist declared that they had at last found what they had been looking for. So the geologist Weld, he was an American, he said that yes, Dorji, we had found the hill which we were looking for so many days. Here what we can get the good quality iron ore. Rajhara Hills had one of the finest ores in the world. So what is the hill name? The hill name is the Rajhara Hills, right? Where we can find one of the finest ores in the world. Finest ores we can find here. But there was a problem. The region was dry and water necessary for running the factory was not to be found nearby. So here there was a problem. Even though there is a dense forest, there was no water supplies nearby. To start an industry, what you need? You need the water supplies to run the factory. But what happened? There was no water supplies nearby. The Tatas had to continue their search for a more suitable place to set up their factory. Now the Tatas were searching for a more suitable place where they can construct their factory, because here nearby there is no any source, water source is not there. To run a factory, what you need? You need lot of water also. So water source is not there. Good quality iron ore is available, but water source is not there. So let us see what they had done. However, the Agraries helped in the discovery of a source of iron ore that would later supply the Bhilai steel plant. However, what happened? The Agraries helped him to discover the source of iron ore. Later, the supply was given where? Bhilai steel plant. A few years later, a large area of forest was cleared on the banks of the river Subarna Rekha to set up the factory and an industrial township, Jamshedpur. So after a few years later, what happened? A large area of the forest was cleared up on the bank of the river Subarna Rekha to set up the factory and an industrial township. There they created an industry where in the Jamshedpur. Here there was a water near the iron ore deposit. So here what was there? Water was available. The Tata Iron and Steel Company TISCO that came up began producing steel in 1912. So in 1912 what we saw? We saw the Tata Iron Steel Company was set up. TISCO was set up at an opportune time. Although the late 19th century India was importing steel that was manufactured in Britain, expansion of the railways in India. So what had happened? There was the expansion of the railways in India. Here you can see this is the photo of the Tata Iron and Steel Factory on the banks of the river Subarna Rekha 1940. Here you can see the huge factory, the big factory, Tata Iron and Steel Factory set up by whom? Set up by the Tata. Had provided a huge market for rails that Britain produced. So they were constructing the railways that time that they had imported the iron that was produced by whom? By the Britain people. For a long while British experts in the Indian railways are unwillingly to believe that good quality steel could be produced in India. See here, so dirty people, so cunning people, they are telling that if the steel, iron and steel is produced by Indians means it is not of the good quality. We are not ready to believe that this steel is of good quality. By the time TISCO was set up, in the situation was changing. In 1914, the First World War broke out. So what happened in 1914? First World War had broke out. Steel produced in Britain now had to meet the demands of war in Europe. So whatever the steel they were producing, that had to meet the demands of the Europe. Means they had to manufacture the guns, they had to manufacture the ships and all, big ships. For that what is required? Iron and steel is required. So for that sake, in the First World War, it has to meet the demands of the Europe. So imports of British steel to India declined dramatically. and the Indian Railways turned to TISCO for supply of the rails. Now they had made what? Railway lines. They had done the railway lines. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್ ರೈಲ್ವೆ ಲೈನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, ರೈಲ್ವೆ ಲೈನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಎದಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ? ತಾವು ಮಾಡಿದಂಥ ಲೂಟಿ ಮಾಡಿದಂಥ ದುಡ್ಡನ್ನು, ಕಟ್ಟಿಗೆನ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಕಳಿಸ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು? ಅವರಿಗೆ ಬ್ರಿಟನ್ನಿಗೆ ಕಳಿಸ್ಬೇಕಾಯ್ತು. ಹೆಂಗೆ ಕಳ್ಸೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ರೀ? ಪ್ಲೇನ್ನಾಗ ಕಳ್ಸೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಶಿಪ್ನಾಗ ಕಳ್ಸೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಅದ್ರ ಸಲುವಾಗಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡಿದರು? ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷರ ರೈಲ್ವೆ ಲೈನ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನ ರೆಡಿ ಮಾಡಿದರು ಇನ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಟು ಗಿವ್ ಕನೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ ಟು ಕಂಟ್ರಿ. ತಮ್ಮ ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಸಲುವಾಗಿ, ತಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಸಲುವಾಗಿ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷರು ರೈಲ್ವೆ ಲೈನ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಕಟ್ಸಿದ್ರು. ಅದು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಮಗೇನು ಉಪಕಾರ ಮಾಡೋ ಸಲುವಾಗಿ, ನಮಗೆ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಸಲುವಾಗಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಎಕನಾಮಿ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಸಲುವಾಗಿ ಏನೂ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷರ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ, ಮಾಡೋದೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅವರು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಹೇಳಿದರು. ಅವ್ರೇನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು? ಇಂಡಿಯಾಕ್ಕೆ ಟ್ರೇಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ರು, ಅವ್ರು ಆಳ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದರು. ಆಳ್ವಿಕೆ ಚಾಲೂ ಮಾಡಿದ ಮೇಲೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ? ಇಂಡಿಯಾನ ಲೂಟಿ ಮಾಡೋದು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಬೇರೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅವರು. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದರಾಗೂ ಲೂಟಿ ಮಾಡಿದರು. ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿಗಳು ಮುಚ್ಚು ಲೆಕ್ಕಕ್ಕೆ ಬರೋ ಲೆಕ್ಕಕ್ಕೆ ನೋಡಿಕೊಂಡ್ರು. ನಮ್ಮ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರೀಸ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಬಾರ್ದು, ನಮ್ಮ ಎಕನಾಮಿ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಬಾರ್ದು, ನಮ್ಮ ಜನರು ಎಜುಕೇಟೆಡ್ ಆಗಬಾರ್ದು. ಅದಕ್ಕೂ ಅವರು ಚೆಂದಂಗೆ ಪ್ಲ್ಯಾನಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಿದರು. ನಾವು ಹೆಂಗಾಗಿ ಉಳಿಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು ರೀ? ಅವರಿಗೆ ಲೇಬರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಉಳಿಬೇಕು, ಲೇಬರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಸಾಯ್ಬೇಕನ್ನುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಹುನ್ನಾರ, ಒಂದು ಸಾಧಿಶಗಳನ್ನು ಅವರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಬಂದರು. But what happened? The God was with the Indians. So First World War had taught them lessons. So they were dependent on whom? On the Indian company, Tata company, in order to complete their railway lines. So they ordered the Tata company, steel manufactured company, to give them the iron in order to make the bars and all, railway lines and all. Right. Over the time, TISCO became the biggest steel industry within the British Empire. So TISCO had become the biggest steel industry. In case of iron and steel, as in case of cotton textiles, industrial expansion occurred only when British imports into India declined and the market for industrial goods increased. So what happened? When the market for the industrial goods increased, that time only we saw that there was an expansion in our, it may be the industrial expansion. We saw what? Industrial expansion in the field of the textiles, in the field of the iron and steel industries of India. Here you can see the photograph, October 1919. You can see this photograph. Here you can see expansion at the end of the war. To meet the demands of the war, TISCO had to expand its capacity and extend the size of its factory. The program of expansion continued after the war. Here you see new powerhouses and boiler houses being built in Jamshedpur in 1919. So in 1919 we are seeing here the boiler houses have been built, right? And here you can see to expand the capacity and extend the size of the factory. Here the program of expansion was continued after the war. Here powerhouses and boilers were built in the large numbers in Jamshedpur in 1919. Here you can see the powerhouses and boilers are built here, right, in the Jamshedpur. Lot of laborers are working here. They all got the employment opportunity. Industrial goods and services got increased. It got the world market in the year 1990. Our steel got the world market. Our textiles got the world market, as there was a demand for our good quality iron and steel. There was a demand for Indian textiles. So we got international market before independence only. This happened during the First World War and after. So these all things were happening during the First World War and after. As the nationalist movement developed and the industrial class became stronger, the demand for government protection became louder. Now you can see the industrial sector in India became stronger. So what they said that now you have to give the protection to the Indian producers. That sound also became louder. Struggling to retain its control over India, the British government had to concede many of these demands in the last decades of the colonial rule. So what happened now? The industries, they had become financially strong. India started becoming financially strong, economically strong. So what our Indian producers like Tata and textile industries, they started developing. So what they did, they started pressurizing the British government. They said that if you want to continue trade with us, if you want to continue to do the business with India, then what you have to do, you have to fulfill lot of our demands. You have to agree to the lot of our demands. And British government agreed also. During its last colonial rule, it agreed to the demands of the India. Early years of industrialization in Japan. Let us see the history of industrialization of Japan in the late 19th century presents a contrast to that of India. The colonial state in India, keen to expand the market for the British goods, was unwilling to support Indian industrialists. In Japan, the state encouraged the growth of the industries. So in the 19th century, British government was not ready to encourage the industries of the India. But what happens in Japan during the 19th century, the Japanese government had encouraged the industrialization in the Japan, because we were ruled by whom? We were ruled by the Britishers. They are not the Indians. Then how they will encourage the Indian industries? They had come here to make lot of profits. They are come here to make lot of money. Then how they will encourage the India during the industrialization, right? But Japan, it was their home country. So what happened? The Japanese government encouraged the people to start the industries in the Japan. Now Modi started the Atmanirbhar project. He is telling that start up India, stand up India, start producing small producers. He has given the call to the small producers, start producing the goods and services which you are producing. Don't stop them, start doing it. You become the owners of whatever you are doing. Now he is giving the call to the farmers also. You are producing the rice, you are producing the wheat, become the owners of it. You decide the prices. Don't allow the middlemen to decide the prices of the rice, wheat and all. Same thing he is telling to the small producers also. ಮೊದಲೇನಾಗಿತ್ತು ರೀ, ಕಸಬರ್ಗಿನೂ ಚೈನಾ, ಮರಾನು ಚೈನಾ, ಒಂದೇನರ ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ವಸ್ತು ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೂ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಮೇಡ್ ಇನ್ ಚೈನಾ. So now what happened? Because of the Atmanirbhar project, we are seeing that now all the small things, the toys also, we are seeing that it is made in India. Now our small producers are coming up. Our industries are slowly growing. When the small producers start the industries, small scale industries, at least 10 people, 20 people, local people are getting the employment opportunities. That is most important. If you have some money in your hands, don't keep that money in the banks, don't keep that money in your lockers. Start doing something on your own. So only Modi gave a call, start up India, stand up India. Now do something on your own. How many days you will be dependent on one person for your livelihood? Do something on your own, earn money, earn income. ಅಲ್ಲಿ 8 ತಾಸು ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರ ಕಡೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅದು 8 ತಾಸು ರೀ, 8 ತಾಸದ ಪಗಾರ ಸಿಗ್ತೈತಿ. 9 ತಾಸು ಮಾಡಿರಂತೆ ₹1 ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಬರೋಂಗಿಲ್ಲ, 10 ತಾಸು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ₹1 ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಬರೋಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. ನಿಮ್ಮದ ಕಂಪ್ನಿ ಇತ್ತು, ನಿಮ್ಮದ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ರಿ ಇತ್ತು, ನಿಮ್ಮದೇ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಇತ್ತು, 10 ಪಾಟ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಬದಲಿ 20 ಪಾಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಂದ್ರೆ 10 ಪಾಟದ ರೊಕ್ಕ ನಿಮಗೆ ಬರ್ತೈತೆ ರೀ, ಬೇರೆದವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. ನೀವು ಬೇರೆದವ್ರ ಕಡೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತ ಕೂತ್ರೆ ಬೇರೆದವರ ಲಾಭ ಪಡ್ಕೋತ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಒನ್ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ ಈಸ್ ಬಿಕಮಿಂಗ್ ರಿಚ್, ಒನ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಈಸ್ ಬಿಕಮಿಂಗ್ ರಿಚ್. ಈಸ್ ಇಟ್ ದ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ? ನಾಟ್ ಅಟ್ ಆಲ್. Families should become rich. Employers should become rich. Employees should become rich. Labor standard of living should increase. When it will increase? When you start doing something on your own. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲ ಮೇಲೆ ನೀವು ನಿಂತಾಗನ ದೇರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಮಂದಿ ಮುಂದೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಹೊತ್ತು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅಷ್ಟರಿ, ಎಷ್ಟು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅಷ್ಟು. ಮಂದಿ ಮುಂದೆ ಭಿಕ್ಷೆ ಲೆಕ್ಕಕ್ಕನ ಪಗಾರ ಬೇಡಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾಡಿರಿ ಅನ್ಕೋತ ಕುಂಡ್ರದಾಗ್ತೈತೆ. ಅವರು ಅಳ್ಕೋತ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ನೋ ಯೂಸ್ ಅಟ್ ಆಲ್. So now it's a time to stand up India, start up India, do something on your own. Put all your efforts in doing something on your own. Do your own work in which you are talented, you have complete knowledge. If you have some money, don't keep it in the bank, start doing something on your own. ಇವತ್ತು ಒಂದು ಪಾಟ್ದಿಂದ ₹2 ಲಾಭ ಬಂತಂತಂದ್ರೆ ನಾಳೆ 10 ಪಾಟ್ ಮಾರಿದಾಗ ನಿಮಗೆ ₹20 ಲಾಭ ಬರ್ತೈತಿ. 50 ಪಾಟ್ ಮಾರಿದಾಗ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ₹100 ಲಾಭ ಬರ್ತೈತಿ. ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಗೋ ಆನ್. ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ದ ವರ್ಕ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಡೂಯಿಂಗ್, ಯು ಆರ್ ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ ದ ಪ್ರಾಫಿಟ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅಸ್ ಆಲ್ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ನೌ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು work. You have to start small scale industries. You should start working on your own in order to increase the salary, in order to increase the income, increase the standard of living, increase the economic growth rate, and work for the development of our country. ನಾವು ಒಬ್ಬ ಶ್ರೀಮಂತ ಆಗೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಏನಾಗ್ತೈತೆ ರೀ? ಎಸ್, ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಅವರ್ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡರ್ ದ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ದೇಶದ ಸಲುವಾಗರ ದುಡೀರಿ, ದೇಶದ ಸಲುವಾಗರ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕ್ರಿ? ಸ್ವಂತದ ಏನಾರು ಒಂದು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಎಷ್ಟು ದಿನ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಮತ್ತೊಬ್ಬರ ಮೇಲೆ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ ಇರೋದ್ರಿ? ನಾಟ್ ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್. ಒನ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಅದರ್ ಡೇ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್, ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಈಸ್ ಬಿಕಮಿಂಗ್ ದ ರಿಚ್. How many days are you going to get dependent on him or her? It's better to you start something on your own. The Meiji regime, which assumed power in Japan in 1868, believed that Japan needed to industrialize in order to resist Western domination. So it initiated a series of measures to help industrialization. Postal services, telegraphs, railways, right, steam powered shipping were developed. The most advanced technology from the West was imported and adapted to the needs of Japan.